Today in the crypto space, we see the market taking a bit of a dip, Bitcoin down to about 42,000 and Ethereum right around that $2,300 mark, down approximately 2%. The rest of the crypto space, the altcoins are not looking the greatest, BNB down approximately 5%, TAO coming down, and a few others. In today's video, I want to talk about the general market. I want to use Bitcoin as a leading indicator, but more importantly, I want to talk about one altcoin, one project that is super bullish, and it is retracing, and of course that project is called TAO, Bittensor. So you know what, let's talk about the news, let's analyze the charts, and let's strategize to capitalize. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mike, and let's get right into it, guys. If you're new to the channel, welcome. On the channel, we talk about cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all the altcoins, looking for opportunities. Whether we go up or down, bearish or bullish, it doesn't matter. All we want to do is stay one step ahead of this market so that we can capitalize on any of the volatility. And if you appreciate that strategy, subscribe to the channel and click that bell so you don't miss out on any of my future videos, including the live streams at 7:30 Eastern, where we talk about crypto news and price action. Guys, if you have any projects you want me to cover here on the channel, feel free to let me know in the comment section below. You can hit me up on the socials, the links are in the description, but better yet, guys, join the Discord. The Discord is where it's at. Lots of good alpha, trade setups, fundamentals, and learning material. All right, guys, let's begin. Let's see what's going on here with this general market. We see Bitcoin pushing to lower levels, slightly to lower levels, still within structure, but it is definitely at the bottom of the range. Okay, so we got to pay attention to Bitcoin. If Bitcoin does come down even a little bit lower than where it is right now, we could see a bit of a cascade effect throughout the market, including the altcoins. Ethereum right now is taking a bit of a hit, down 2%, nothing big, nothing drastic, but this is why we're seeing the altcoin market potentially come down. It's all because of Bitcoin spreading a bit of that fear. Bitcoin coming down, and we see Ethereum slightly down. Solana is still looking okay after a bit of a bounce, but still overall still within retracement, which means that this could be a dead cat bounce type of thing. It's still a lower high, it's still making lower lows and lower highs. So ultimately, let's see what's going to be happening with Solana in the next little while. BNB is rolling over down approximately 5% after a nice run to the upside. It's definitely getting, a bit of negativity, and we see the general market is pretty much in the same effect, rolling over, coming down a little bit. AVAX is down 11%, and you can see that many others are coming down as well. Polkadot 2%, and so on and so forth. But what the good news here is that this is not an area to be too concerned with just yet. As long as Bitcoin is within range, we are okay. Altcoins might come down a little bit, but ultimately, as long as Bitcoin stays within structure, and we're going to be looking at the Bitcoin structure very shortly, and then we'll take a look at today's video is all about Bittensor TAO, and of course that project is super bullish fundamentally, but it has been retracing. That's a normal thing to do, especially after a project has been running significantly in the last little while. A bit of retracement is absolutely healthy. Okay, so let's continue here. We see the market is looking pretty good, sideways price action everywhere. ICP, internet computers going sideways, and many of these altcoins are still going sideways. Many of them have been running pretty strongly in the last little while, are getting their pullback or getting their retracement, right? So even though, like, look at Monero is falling really hard. Unfortunately, seeing it fall like that is not a greatest thing, but you see other ones, like Stacks is still looking okay. It does look like a complex head and shoulder formation right there with many shoulders, so be careful there with Stacks. Maybe it does roll over based off of Bitcoin's lead. It does follow the Bitcoin narrative, and when Bitcoin's coming down, expect Stacks to take a bit of a hit as well. Okay, so we keep on going through this market sideways. Bittensor is the token for today. We're going to be talking about Bittensor. The project for today is Bittensor. I do feel like ultimately we should be considering buying the dip opportunities whenever we see these red days. Right now, Bittensor is down approximately 7.7% just for today, but big picture, the retracement has been coming through. So we got to see overall what does the retracement look like in the last little while. We have already still looking strong going sideways, and we have Mina Protocol going sideways. A lot of sideways, guys. So we're still okay. Yes, we do have a few dips, but we're still okay. Neo going sideways, and Decentraland Mana coming down a little bit, and Gala coming down. Not looking good for Gala and Decentraland. That overall structure, that overall scenario, guys, if we start making lower lows, it's not looking good for those two, Mana and of course Mana. Beam is also not looking the greatest. Pancake Swap is holding up, still looking pretty good. As long as it holds there, we're okay. It does look like a sideways channel kind of forming there. It could break down to test the previous low, so be careful with that one. It's been running up pretty good in the last little while, up over about 50%. So generally speaking, the market generally speaking is okay. You know, there's nothing really to be fearful of. Now, we should be watching Bitcoin. We should be watching what Bitcoin is doing in the next little while. We could be looking at Bitcoin dominance. We saw the Bitcoin dominance fall. Obviously, we're going to go through this live tonight at 7:30, guys. Make sure that you subscribe and click that bell so you don't miss out. Tonight, 7:30. If you have any requests, that is the best time and place to make them. All right, guys, let's begin. Let's take a look at Bitcoin. Let's get into some of this TA. I know you're here to talk about charts. Bitcoin, look at what's happening here. It's still within this ascending triangle, still okay, but it is at the bottom of the range. It is wicking down here. Now, does Bitcoin hold support? This is what we want to see. We see a bit of bullish divergence. We see some indications that we could eventually break out bullish here. So let's just be careful here with all the fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Let's continue here with this in a little bit more detail. So what I'm trying to say here is that we are getting lows here. We're getting range lows, obviously, slightly higher lows, which is really good. And we can see that the momentum is still pushing up like that. Okay, still looking okay. Now, I'm not seeing any bullish divergence, really. I'm not seeing anything crazy as far as divergence happenings. But here on the 4-hour, I can definitely see this thing potentially getting overbought again. Why? Because we got oversold. So let's get overbought. This attempt was very weak, so we come back down, pick up some bullish bids, and then come up to the upside. Now, I'm not expecting, if we do break out bullish, I'm not expecting a huge run, but I'm expecting a little bit of a breakout here, even if it's a failed breakout, something to happen here. Why? Because statistically speaking, this should eventually translate into an ascending wedge, which ascending triangles tend to want to break out bullish statistically speaking. Now, we also understand that we are a bit away from the apex, which we should be looking at 70% towards the apex of this triangle, which is approximately right around here. Once we get to this level, which we got a couple hours, of course, to get there, you know, we start looking for breakouts. This is a bit early of a breakout. Now, it is an M pattern. It could be rolling over and coming down. Obviously, that's a very possible scenario. Getting back within structure, big picture structure, and we'll zoom out in a second for you to see exactly what I'm talking about. You can see that there's a bit of a volume gap that we could definitely fall to about, you know, $38,000. It's very possible, but I still feel that the bias is to the upside. What's going on here with the 1 hour? Still in the chop zone, nothing really interesting. You see the MACD's confused, and so is the RSI. There's no real direction on both. So let's stick with the 4-hour, at least bigger picture. We could make some better decisions. Oversold, overbought. The MACD here is looking like it's still dipping down, so maybe we get a continuation to the downside in the short term based on this MACD. But ultimately, guys, I'm thinking that this little dip that we're in right now could come down a little bit more and then get a bit of support for a bounce to the upside. We're still within range. We're still within structure. You can see that we are making double tops, double bottoms, and still, as long as we are within this range, I am not too concerned. Breaking range, then I'm concerned. So for now, we're good. Let's zoom out a little bit here on the Bitcoin price. We can see that ultimately we've been hesitating here for a good little while, and this is what I've been expecting. And ultimately, this is the range that we kind of want for altcoins to run. We want them to flourish. You want them to get into the driver's seat. You want Ethereum to do well, and the only way that's going to happen is if Bitcoin goes sideways. And guess what? If Bitcoin, and when Bitcoin gets its bounce, we want to see altcoins, especially Ethereum, outperform Bitcoin on its bounce. So Bitcoin will go back up to range highs, okay, maybe about 44,300, give or take. And when that happens, we want to see altcoins outperform Bitcoin. That way, every impulse to the upside is going to bring down the Bitcoin dominance. Basically, Bitcoin going sideways within range while altcoins make higher highs. That's what we want to see. If you're interested in that altcoin market, if you've been scaling into the altcoin market, really, that's what you want to see, is Bitcoin go sideways. All right, guys, so we're doing good. Let's zoom out a little bit more so you can see what's going on big picture. If we start breaking down and into this level, I'm expecting, again, 33,000 to about 30K, and then as low as at about 25K. That's where, you know, things start to get really scary. And of course, we'll be looking for nice buy opportunities and obviously DCA opportunities across the market. If that were to happen, that could be the fire sale of the bull run that we're waiting for. All right, guys, let's get right into the chart for today. The project is called called TAO Bittensor. Of course, what a beast, guys. This thing has been doing very well. Let's reminisce on what happened here, because ultimately what you could be looking at is a potential bearish scenario in the short term. But look where we came from. Ultimately, you know, here on the channel, we've been covering TAO all throughout this zone. This was the DCA's area, the area to accumulate, the area to take chance and to take risk. And all of a sudden, guess what? This thing ran and started running, and it didn't stop. It didn't even stop, to the point that you can see that on the volume gap, on the volume profile, there's a lot of empty weak space right here, which suggests that ultimately we could come back down all the way down to $90. It is very possible, guys. We can't negate the fact that there's very little supply and demand all throughout this area to act as support if we start coming down. Now let's start zooming into where we are. Just to be clear here, this is not looking good, okay? We were making higher highs on the price action, lower highs on the RSI. We are currently getting a follow through of that bearish divergence. So this is class A bearish divergence. We got the follow through. I expected this to happen, okay? Remember my last live show, we talked about it. We came down, we got a bit of a bounce, and I'm expecting a lower high, guys. If we get this confirmed lower high, which as of now, we got one attempt, no doubt, one attempt, one impulsive move up, quick rejection to the downside, and coming straight right down. Now, we do see on the daily that the momentum stuck in the chop zone in the 50% mark of the RSI, which means that the price action could go sideways for the next little while, which would absolutely be great. You know, honestly, going through here, bouncing around this level, maybe coming as low as maybe about $230, that would be fine. And then finally maybe getting some indications of support around this level with some bullish divergence. But guess what, guys? We have to anticipate that the daily on the RSI could come down to oversold conditions eventually. So that's the risk you take getting into fresh longs at the current moment in the chop zone, because we could get support here. We've seen many altcoins bounce around the chop zone, get a nice level of support, and then get a nice bounce to the upside and make even higher highs. It could be possible, but the risk you're taking of doing that is that it gets oversold. And when the daily goes oversold, expect a dip, expect further continuation to the downside. So the worst case scenario, if the daily gets oversold, we will probably come down maybe even lower than the 230 and maybe as low as 170, okay? Because we do have a volume gap, we do have a weak spot, and you can see that the price action, when it ran up here, it left behind no support, none whatsoever, which means that if we start breaking below that 230, we enter the volume gap, and it's likely that we come down to about 170, and that's where I'll be spamming some buy orders. Nonetheless, spamming some buy orders at 228, 230 is still not bad of a scenario, because the retracement starts to get real here. Really important levels to hold and support here by the bulls. If they need to step in, this would be the time. But after that, guys, we start building necklines to the point that if we start breaking them, we start coming down even further. So this is the issue. Now, look at this level, shoulder, head, potential shoulder here. So if we make a lower high, we're potentially making a shoulder. And I just want you to be clear, this is a confirmed head and shoulder with every support necessary. We got the bearish divergence coming out of the two tops. We're getting the indicator that this is the pivot point. Because of that, we're getting the follow through, we're getting the back test, the confirmation high, the lower high, to confirm that we're making our first change of structure, which is the lower high. As soon as we get this confirmed lower high, we start coming down, breaking below the previous low to make a lower low. Guys, lower highs, lower lows, the trends are your friend. We start coming down and we start looking for good levels of horizontal support to buy the dip. This is the daily. Let it get oversold. Now, in the short term, you could be trading the 4 hour. Let's go see what the 4 hour is doing. Going against the trend currently is a bit dangerous. If you're seeing that the daily is pushing down and you are getting those confirmations, basically going long, you're still getting into trades that are going against the potential trend, right? Because this could be a change of structure where the trend changes from bullish to bearish. However, guys, we're getting one impulsive move that got a quick rejection, exactly where I expected it to happen. And now we're coming right back down. Does that mean that we see the price action on the 4 hour get oversold? Let's look at the RSI. You can see quick rejection right here and quickly to oversold conditions. Maybe it's very possible. And if we don't hold up at 255, guys, or even 230, it's not looking good. Look at the MACD. EMA cross to the downside, red histogram histogram bars forming really bearish. So you can see that the 4-hour, even the daily, is not looking the greatest. Every impulsive move to the upside right now could be shorted because it's within the probability of continuation to the downside, based on the trend, based on the pivot point, based on the indications that we get here. Getting into a fresh long is quite dangerous at the current moment. If anything, it's about building short positions or finding opportunities to take profit after every impulsive move to the upside. We could definitely come up for a little bit more, maybe round off here, come up a little bit higher over time, right? But ultimately, guys, if we get rejected and we get confirmations of a high that is lower than this high, not looking good for Bittensor TAO. Guys, if I've offered you any value in this video, do the channel a massive favor. You know what you got to do. You got to slap that like button. It does really help out with the algorithm. If you want to join me live tonight at 7:30 Eastern, that is a great time and place to make any requests for any projects that you're interested in. Of course, guys, join the Discord. The Discord's where it's at. Lots of good alpha, trade setups, fundamentals, and learning material. Take care, guys. Have a good one. And don't forget, buy the dip.